Okay, cool. I think we can get started. So, hi everyone, thank you so much for joining our Becoming a Student Athlete panel today. My name is Aditi and I'm very excited to be your moderator for this event. For those of you who are tuning in to a Millie event for the first time, Millie is a company dedicated to building a community for international school students globally. And to that end, we host webinars and panels like this almost every weekend. You can find an archive for all of our past events, as well as a schedule for future events on our website, www.milliegroup.com. And if you want to keep up to date with what we have to offer, follow us on Instagram at Millie_group. We have some great panels coming up in the next couple of weekends this October, so be sure to check them out. Okay, so here's how today's panel is going to look like. I have some pre-prepared questions that I'm planning to go through with the panelists, but students feel free to keep submitting your own questions, and I'll be sure to ask them and prioritize them. But yeah, your questions could be general questions for everyone, or you could direct it to a specific panelist. Either is fine. Great, so I think we can get started. Could we start off with a quick intro from each panelist? Could you tell us your name, school, the sport you play, the city you are currently in and or from, and one fun fact about yourself? Could we go Swiss, Stefan, then Nasser, please?
Hi, so I'm Swiss Duangtip, and I'm in NYU right now as a student athlete doing cross country and track. And I'm from Hong Kong and Thailand. And one fun fact about myself is that I have 10 dogs in Thailand.
Yeah, hi, my name is Stefan. I'm currently at Tufts University. It's over at Medford, Massachusetts. I'm from the Philippines and I play tennis. And one really interesting fact about me is that I know how to play the saxophone.
Hi, my name is Nasir Sayed and I'm in University of Charleston, West Virginia, and I'm from India. And I'm on the men's soccer team. And a fun fact about me is that, so in my first name, I have 2 words. So it's like Nasir Hussain. In my first name, there are 2 words. That's a fun fact.
Okay, cool. Great fun facts from everyone. So moving into some of our questions about pre-college sports career, what inspired you to pursue your sport, would you say?
So I think what inspired me to pursue my sport was my dad, because back when I was a kid, he used to do a lot of marathon running and just long distance running. And he just took me on his training runs. And I guess I kept up for a bit, and I found out that I maybe could become good at this. And so yeah, it just kept me going. And I guess my dad is my biggest inspiration for just doing the sport and stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely my family as well. My family plays a lot of sports. My 2 younger brothers play tennis and golf. My sister plays golf and tennis. And my parents also were former college athletes and professional athletes.
Okay, so mine is very similar to Swiss. I started playing at a very young age with my father. And I was really passionate about soccer. I loved it since I played it for the first time. And I always wanted to become a professional soccer player. So that's why I went on to pursue soccer.
Okay, amazing. And so where did each of you go to high school, and what were the opportunities available to pursue sports at your school?
So I went to an international school in Hong Kong called West Island School. And the opportunities I had were, it was definitely I think there was a lot of peak staff and a lot of trainers and stuff, but I wouldn't say it's the same level as the US, where everything, the whole infrastructure is supported towards sports. But I think in terms of general, I compete on both my high school team and my club team. So it's like kind of different here where they only kind of compete in their high school or like high school team as compared to other places and where I live, where I compete in both high school and club teams.
Yeah, so I went to high school in the international school in Manila. Um, there's lots of opportunities academically to excel. So I did the IB diploma as well. And in terms of sports, much like Swiss said, it's very hard to find a good program in your high school. So you have to sometimes go out and join clubs, or in my case, I had to join international tournaments, and so that college coaches could see me.
I also went to an international school and I did the IB diploma. And yeah, like similar to others, even my high school didn't have a lot of opportunities, so I had to look outside my high school. And I joined clubs, and I joined a soccer club, a football club as it's called back in India, and it was a good level. It was competitive, and then so I wanted to step by higher myself. Then so I joined a club outside my high school. So that's how it went.
Yeah, okay, great. So I think like a lot of you, or I think basically all of you have joined clubs outside of high school, right? So maybe that's like a good tip for international students. If you don't have great resources at your school, try to look kind of beyond that. Great. And so here's like probably the big question of this panel. Being an international high school student, how did you get recruited as a college athlete? Because it's a little bit tougher. It's different in the US because there's coaches always going to different high school games and planning to recruit players. So yeah, what was each of your experience with that?
So I think this is a very like kind of long question to answer, but in general, I'd say like, I mean, I was always interested in like going to the NCAA, and I knew that the US was really good and that they have a really good college sports system, and it was really competitive. And like, I think for me, how did I get recruited? Because I'm in Division 3, like the coaches won't reach out to you necessarily, but because if you're like, unless you're like the stars of the, I mean, you're like very, very good. Let's say you're the top in like Division 1, like standards, then they'll recruit you. But for me personally, like going to NYU and stuff, and like being Division 3, the coaches won't make an effort to reach out to you. You have to reach out to them instead. So what that means is that a lot of the colleges have the standards. Like for me, I do track and cross country, and it's very like time standards, right? Like how fast you can run and stuff. It's very objective. And so if you can run those times, then you're kind of like eligible to apply to get recruited as a college athlete. But it's not that simple because you obviously need to email. You obviously need to. So I reached out around my junior year of high school, and I emailed a lot of coaches. I make it a professional email and just like declare your interest, fill in their recruiting questionnaire forms, and really just like get in touch with them. Let them know what your academics are, your athletics are, and like let them know what your ambitions are and stuff. And so, yeah, I think it's just like a lot of emailing, a lot of communication, and as time goes on, you'll find which coach fits you the most, or like which ones want you the most, and those coaches are the ones that are likely to be the ones that recruit you again.
Yeah, so coming from a country that's not the United States, you definitely have to make more of an effort to put yourself out there and showcase your talent. So one thing that I did was I did a lot of recruiting camps at various universities, a lot of college combine events. Um, but I'm also in Division 3. So with the difference between Division 1 and Division 3 mainly is that you're more of a student in Division 3. So what that means is you have to reach certain GPA, SAT requirements to get into the school. Like there's not that much leverage as D1, and Yeah, I also emailed my coaches junior year, reached out to a lot of coaches. Um, some I heard back from, some I did not hear back from. It's very normal. And yeah, that's how I put myself out there.
So one main thing, or at least we do in the soccer program, that all the coaches want a highlight video. So it's like a 3 to 6 minute video when you got to show your match skills and you have to show your match recordings, and then you send it to different coaches. And if coaches like how you play or how good you how good of a player you are, they'll respond to you, then reply, and then that's one thing. And definitely you've got to start as early as possible. Start emailing coaches and start recording your videos and start sending them. And that's how I did it. I sent my highlight video to different coaches, and I got 3 Division 2 offers, and I selected the best one. So the main thing is what I feel is the highlight video, which is one of the most essential things for international students to go about being a student athlete.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's good to maybe if each of you could like also talk about Division 1, 2, and 3 because maybe students don't really know. So yeah, I mean, Stefan, you want to talk about Division 3, and then Nasir, you can talk about Division 2 as well, and like what everything means, just to make it more clear.
Sure. So I guess like the first difference between Division 1 and Division 3 is that Division 3 they don't offer any athletic scholarships. So what that means is that you don't get like basically you don't get financial award for your athletic ability, and so you won't have like a binding contract where they say, I mean, that they say if you perform this well, that you get this amount of money or something like that. It's not like that for Division 3 because Division 3 you can still get financial aid in terms of like academics or like financial need, but for sports it's like you really, I mean, it's more of like it's like you don't get any like financial award for that in that way. So that's the main difference, I guess. But in Division 1, because you get that like financial scholarship, then there's like pressure to perform. So my coach was a Division 1 athlete at Loyola Marymount University in LA, and so he had a lot of pressure to perform. He when he got injured, his athletic scholarship got taken away from him. So that's the main difference is that if you're in D1 and if you're good enough to be in D1, you have that extra pressure to perform, and you also have more of a sports focus, like Stefan said, than D3. So you're really like putting the athlete part out there and really have that you really have that pressure to perform.
Yeah. So just building on top of that, for Division 3, it's very school oriented, and what that means is you're gonna get into the school primarily because of your academics and your scores. You'll get aid by via financial aid or a merit-based scholarship that some of the guys on my team have. Um, but when looking into Division 1 and Division 3, just to add on, so I got a couple Division 1 offers as well to pretty substantial schools, and I chose Division 3 because I really wanted a good work-life balance in terms of my school and academics. And we have a very good tennis program over at Tufts University, and there's lots of good research positions, and it'll set me up really well for my professional career. So you gotta look at it from both angles. Do you want to pursue sports more, or do you want to take a step back and look holistically with life in general?
So Division 1 and Division 2 both provide scholarships, but Division 1 has a slightly more amount of scholarships which can be offered. So that's one difference between Division 1 and Division 2. And another main difference is that Division 1 schools are generally bigger, like uh, and they are more maybe public schools, and they are bigger as in my school. I go to a Division 2 school, so it's a smaller school. It's a private school, and it only has about 3,000 students. So that is considered to be a smaller university. And Division 1 university generally has bigger with more students, and it's more recognized as per se.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was really good to clarify. So I think students, from what all of the panelists have said, they've given you great advice. Maybe, so I think you can apply to both. You can get both Division 1 and Division 2, 3 offers like across the board. So maybe it's good to consider all your options, and maybe see what offers you get and then decide. Okay, cool. So, why did each of you actually choose to apply to be a college athlete? I mean, I know, each one of you has like more focus on academics, I guess, like Stefan and Swiss, both of you Division 3, that means more focus on academics, and Nasser as well. Like, why did you actually choose, why did you say, I want to keep pursuing this sport at college instead of maybe recreationally?
Well, for me, I think it's because I enjoy doing the sport and I really want to push myself to the limit in that way because I think uh, back in Hong Kong or in Thailand where I live, the infrastructure is not like adequate enough or like not like supportive to like make you the best that you can be in a way. So in here, there's a lot of like training support, there's a lot of trainers, there's a lot of money that goes into the system that really helps you become a better athlete. And the competition too. Like in here, there's a lot of people that are much better than me and that's good because you want to challenge yourself by by having higher standards with other people. And also another ambition that I have is for me being from a Southeast Asian country like Thailand, I think I have a shot at making a national team for like cross country and like track. And I think I want to make that happen. So hopefully I'm like just a little bit short, but hopefully the next 4 years in college, I like train hard and I improve and like all things go well and I get to represent my national team.
So I chose to pursue college sports when I was I guess it was part of my plan with tennis, and this was really my end goal, to play college sports at a top academic institution in the United States. And well, coming here and just seeing the level is really high, even for Division 1, Division 2, or Division 3. The competition's so much higher than back where I used to live. Um, just because of the trainers here, the athletic trainers, our coaches are really top-notch coaches, and our facilities also really push us to be the best we can be. And it's just coming to play division, coming to play college sports in the United States is definitely going to create me into a better person and help me with my college experience, making it more holistic.
So for me, at a point of time, it was like either soccer or academic. So, but then obviously I wanted to do both together. So that's why I chose to come here. And here, both academics and sports are at a very high level. So it is like I didn't really compromise on anything, and I still have both together. And apart from that, also the scholarship motivated me. So I am on a 30% scholarship, which also motivated me to be a student athlete.
Okay, great. And then the last kind of question I guess I have, for the pre-college kind of aspect, maybe we'll come back to this a little bit later on, but how did you build your profile to be a competitive candidate for a college athlete position? So I think each of you well, Nasser talked a little bit about like the highlight reel and things like that, but can each of you maybe give even more detail and background on that?
Sure. So I guess the best way to prepare yourself is to be before recruiting is be in the best position both academically and athletically. So you just want to have like going into the recruiting process and stuff. You want to make sure that your like your ability is up there with the standards, I guess. Or if it's a little bit short, it's fine. But I guess you want to like it's not like you can just if you're like just like if you're not even I mean a lot of college athletes that get to play in college are the ones that are like the best in high school in some way. So you really want to like kind of like be the best you can be in your high school and really compare yourself to how the other college like people are doing. So if you do that, then you get a sense of how good you are and you apply to the schools that are within your ability and stuff. And so for track, it's very objective. So I mean, the times that you run and stuff gets you into like different schools and stuff. And so for me, NYU was the best fit for me, both academically and athletically, in terms of grades and in terms of like athletics. And so I just feel like that's like the most important thing is like just being academically and athletically aware of where you are in like in the whole system.
Yeah. So when you're looking at trying to get recruited by some of these colleges, you have to get a sense first of whether you want to play Division 1, Division 2, Division 1 and Division 2, which are more similar, and then you have Division 3. Um, and how much time you want to allocate into your either your school or you want to allocate towards your sport. You can do both, and it's really hard, but you have to like have a clear cut goal on if you're gonna pursue yourself academically or athletically. And for Division 3, it's really academic. Like I had to score, and I had to take the IB diploma, which is very rigorous. Um, I had to score it with the average scores of my ACT. I have to get near perfect on my GPA as well. And yeah, just being aware that for Division 3, the coaches really look at your academics, and because they don't have that much leverage with admission pull with if you have low grades. And with my tennis, I would just travel a lot, play a lot of tournaments. We had a ranking system which is UTR. It's a universal tennis rating, so it's a rating that's across all ages and genders. It's like there's like a standard rating, and then you can use that to gauge what your level is for college sports, which college you can go to rather, and yeah.
Okay, so for the first thing I'd say is obviously maintaining good grades in your high school, which is definitely essential. And on the sports side, so what I know that a lot of people do is contact agencies who have contacts with college coaches, like a lot of college coaches. So that's like a so when you contact these agencies, you automatically have uh, connections, and then you can directly talk to coaches through these agencies. So a lot of student athletes do this, and this really helps. I also did this. So through my agency, I sent the highlight video and I contacted the coach, and then he was interested, and then I had to send a full match video, and then he watched it and he was satisfied, and then he wanted me on the team. So uh, one thing people do is contacting sports agencies who have college coaches connections. That's what people do.
Great. So we just have one question coming in from like our Q&A. So based on your individual experience at your colleges, Are there sports that are more in demand for which it's relatively easier for international students to compete in?
Well, I'd say that my sport is very much at a disadvantage for international students because, like, I mean, the standards here are so much higher than what in Hong Kong and in Thailand. Like for cross country and track, like people here run so fast, much faster than what people ran back home, and so really, I'd say it's much harder to get recruited for track and cross country in the US. And I'm the only, even as like a student at NYU, where there's so many international students, I'm the only international student on my cross country and track team. Like that's just how rare it is to kind of find like a international student in like a running team, I guess. Um, and also, but I think there are some other sports that are like easier to get recruited. For example, I think rugby isn't as like commonly played here, and one of my friends from high school, she played rugby at like a decent level. She wasn't I think she was on the Hong Kong team, but she managed to get into Harvard with like with rugby and stuff. And so I think that's like really good. And because sports that are less commonly played here are gonna be less competitive. And so if like for soccer, for example, if you're an like international student who comes from like a really good like soccer country like the UK or France, I think you're at an advantage in the US. But for me, I was at a disadvantage for running.
Um, yeah, I mean, playing college sports is hard in general, and being a student and being an international student, not in your country, and trying to play college sports is even harder. Um, if there's one sport that I could say that'd be easiest to get recruited by from an international perspective, it would be hmm, that's a tough one because my team, out of the 16 guys, five of us are international students, and I know some guys on the track team who are international students as well. Some kids on the swimming team. Well, across the board, we have a lot of international students, but there's not one sport that actually comes to mind with international students. As Swiss said, rugby's so we don't recruit like some schools don't recruit for rugby. Tufts is one of them. My friend played rugby, is actually the captain right now at Harvard as well for rugby, and he came from my high school. And then my other friend goes to Dartmouth, plays rugby for Dartmouth. Um, but yeah, I would say tennis is a tennis is a sport where there's a lot of international students as well. One third of our team is international, so I guess that's a pretty big number.
So for soccer, like as Swiss said, it's completely true. If you're from a soccer country, you're definitely at a big advantage. Like if you're from France, UK, Argentina, Spain, obviously you already have some recognition that you're from a good country. To opposing to if you're from some other country which are not that highly ranked in soccer. And but yeah, in my soccer team there are a lot of guys, and most of them are international. Surprisingly, there are only 5 Americans on my soccer team, and my soccer team represents almost around 15, 16 different nations. So there are guys from Denmark, there are guys from Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and Argentina, Brazil. I mean, close to 15, 16 countries. That's like so international. So international students definitely in soccer. There's a lot of demand.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for the great question from the Q&A. Cool. So I wanted to move on to ask you guys some more questions about your experience so far being a college athlete, and maybe talk more about that. So firstly, what does your typical schedule look like balancing like the academics and the sport. What does this look like in season, when you're in season, and also when you're off season?
Sure. So with cross country and track, it's like interesting because we don't really have like an off season like soccer or tennis, because we have if you're like a long distance runner, then you run cross country in the fall, then you do indoor track in the winter, and then you do outdoor track in the spring. So it's very much like a whole year thing. And that's very time consuming, and like it requires a lot of commitment in the way, because you're really training hard all year. And so my typical schedule now during cross country is really just we really like practice 7 days a week, right? And we practice from anywhere from like we run about like an hour to 2 hours every day, but then we also have all this supplementary things that we have to do, like drills, stretching, we gym 3 times a week, like for like a few hours. And so that was really like that takes a lot of time. In total, I'd say I spend like an average like 3 hours a day like in practice without commuting and stuff. And so that's a lot of time to take into account. And I always practice with every sport. We have like different practice times. So it's really interesting that my team, cross country team, like we practice in the morning all the time, like at 6 to 7 a.m., which kind of sucks if you're not a morning person. But yeah, but you just have to do it. And I have classes during the day, about 3 hours a day of classes. But then the professors also give you quite a lot of assignments to do, like homework and stuff. So you definitely do, like in my experience, you definitely do as much, like you definitely spend as much time, if not more, on homework assignments and stuff than like actual lectures and stuff. And so, yeah, I think you would be very busy with being a college athlete, because you're doing both academics and athletics at a very high level. And also additionally, just for me, it depends on the city too. So if I'm in like literally in New York City, and there's like so many things to do and stuff, and that takes a lot of time for me too, just because there's a lot. So like if you like being like in a place where you don't have many distractions, and it's good. But definitely being like in New York City, it like has more of things to do, and so you definitely don't feel bored in that way.
Sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. So basically just asking you to expand more on your typical like schedule, what it looks like what the divide is between sports and academics. And you can talk about that like in season and off season as well.
Yeah, so popular to contrary belief. There's for tennis, we have fall. So the seasons are fall, winter, and spring season, and tennis plays in the fall and the spring. But in order to play for the spring, you have to train during the winter. So you have captain's practices during the winter. So it's actually a year-round extravaganza. And you know, I train 5 times a week for 2 hours a day. 5 times a week, and then on the weekends you have tournaments. So if you're playing the tournament, then you're playing the whole week. And it's really tough balancing school and sports, but it's definitely manageable. Well, I'm taking a really heavy course load this semester. I'm taking 18 credits. So, it's a lot on my plate, and you just got to be good with your time management. So I have training in the mornings or afternoons, and then I just have school in between, and then homework at night.
So for soccer, we have the fall when we're in season, and this is my first semester, so I haven't really experienced off season yet, so I can't speak for that. But in season, right now, I'll give you a realistic view. So we practice 6 days a week, close to 1 hour 45 minutes in the afternoons on the weekdays, and on the weekends we practice on mornings generally. And today is a Saturday, and I just came from training at like 10:30. And that's how it goes. And I think last week we had 3 games in 7 days. So like that's how tight it can be, and it's very tiring, definitely. But you have to do your best to recover as fast as you can so that you can focus on your next game. That's how it goes. And there's practice, sometimes there's practice 7 days a week too, and that's tiring, but you have to cope up with it because you're in season right now. And but you also have to look at the academics part of it. You can't let your grades fall down. That'd be the worst thing to happen. So you'll have to work on both.
Yeah. Thanks so much to each of you for expanding more on that. Nasser, I just wanted to maybe ask you a little bit more about this idea of recovery. So after you play a game, you have the recovery thing. So does your school like support you with that, and like does it have, things, and do they advise you on how to go about that and stuff like that, or is it you have to take care of that yourself?
So for recovery, it's like we have our team has 2 athletic trainers, and if we have some injuries, or if you just have some sprains or something like that, you just go to your athletic trainers for your recovery. They'll set a plan for you. They'll tell you what to do for the next few days. That's how it goes. And like after matches, we typically have either a day off, or we have training in which it's a recovery session. So like it's easier, it's with lesser intensity, more of it's like you jog a bit and then you play with lesser intensity. That's how we do recovery in our team.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for kind of expanding on that. Cool. So my next question is, is the program kind of what you expected based on like your recruiting experience and what you researched? Is this what you were kind of thinking would be the thing, or have there been any like unexpected things that have happened, any like shocks or things like that?
I'd say from my recruiting experience, I think this is like kind of what I expected. There hasn't been many things that I didn't really expect. But one thing that I didn't really expect that much was that I think your teammates, you really spend a lot of time with your teammates. And so they become part of like your family in a way, because you just spend so much time with them that like you just have this close bond. And like my teammates are also like my closest friends on campus and stuff. And so they really help you through like a lot of things. It's like being a college athlete, one of the like benefits of it, I guess, is that when you go to college and you're a college athlete, you automatically have a group of friends, like a very group of close-knit friends that will support you and that will like guide you through. And like having that like solid support system really helps with everything from like academics to athletics and just like hanging out and just like de-stressing and stuff. And so I think, yeah, that's very much what I didn't expect, but I definitely enjoy it now. And I really appreciate everyone on the team.
Yeah. Much as like what Swiss said, I didn't expect too many curveballs. Like I did my research prior to going to Tufts, and my coach is very transparent on what would transpire within the team. And but yeah, my teammates are also my really good friends. They're probably gonna be like my lifetime brothers. I still keep in contact with a lot of the alumni that have graduated. They're really helpful for like job searching, whatever, even job searching, or if you want to even grab a cup of coffee with them and just, talk, take a chat. What else? Well, that's all that I can really speak to. So yeah.
So for my program, I felt like most of the things surpassed my expectations. So like the level of players here, the competitiveness, uh, how good the coaches are, how good the facilities are, all of those things. What I expected, it's better than what I expected, basically. And like coaches, not just how good they coach, but like how good they are with players. Like they're really very friendly, and they share a bond with you, which makes you feel really special. And yeah, as both of the other panelists said, that a group of friends is already formed when you're a student athlete. And yeah, that's how it goes.
Great. Cool. So I think the next question maybe I would ask is, what would you say are the top 3 skills needed to be a successful student athlete?
Sure. So I would say top 3 skills. I would go with the first one is commitment. It's like simple. It's that basically you have to, when you commit yourself to the sport, like it's a lot of time, that you spend on it, and it's not gonna be fun all the time. So you really work hard, and you really have to commit yourself to improving yourself and stuff. And the second thing I would say is time management, because yeah, I think as everyone has mentioned, like it's a lot to balance both academics and athletics, and it's really, time management is key, because without it, then then you won't sleep enough, and then both your academic performance and athletic performance will fall. So in that way, it's very important that you time manage well to do things in a very productive way, and to like basically have that structural control over your life. And it's also because a lot of people in college, when they first, as a freshman, when they first go to college, they don't like, it's hard for them to time management because they don't have their parents to tell them what to do or to like really guide them through life. And so really it's key to like, think about that throughout your years, and to be very aware of what you're doing and stuff. And I think the third one would be probably communication. I think communication is very important. You need to communicate very clearly how you're feeling with your coaches, because it's very easy to feel down after like a bad performance in a race, or like if you're not feeling well in training and stuff. You have to tell your coaches what you're feeling, because they'll really help you out with that. They're very understanding, and they've gone through many athletes, and they know how to help you solve that problem. Or like there are also so many like mental health support, counseling support, athletic trainer support, that like if you become transparent with them about how you're feeling and stuff, they can really help you in the best way possible. So yes, recap is commitment, time management, and communication are like the most 3 important things in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, it would be time management, number 1, of course. Number 2 would have to be a positive attitude. And number 3 would have to be willing to sacrifice. There, because you will have to sacrifice a lot, whether it be some sleep or social life. Just to have a proper balance, work-life balance of school and athletics. You maybe have to miss going out with your friends one night because you have a 7 a.m. practice the next day. So yeah.
For me, the first one would be balance between sports and academics. And it is a little similar to time management, like how you manage your time. So you need to balance both. You shouldn't focus on one more and lesser on the other one. That will not be good for you in the long run. And second would be competitiveness. So this also applies for both, but more towards the athlete part. You need to be competitive. You need to step up in times, and you need to show your skills. You need to show your talent. And you really need to be competitive. You should have a positive attitude, definitely, and give your best all the time. So you should be competitive. And the third thing I'd say is you should also focus on your mental health. I think Suze also mentioned that mental health is really important. Like for me, how it goes is some days when I have bad practices, I feel really low. Like I feel like, what am I doing here? I'm not playing well. But then on other days when I have a good session, it really cheers me up. So in bad time, you should still try to find positives. You should still try to see what you did good even on a bad day, so that you don't just feel low all the time. And you shouldn't let every small thing affect you mentally. And really just try to have a good balance in your mind. So that would be my three things: balance, competitiveness, and focusing on your mental health.
Yeah, amazing. That's great tips from all of you. Cool. So the next question I wanted to ask is, how does like traveling work during the season for all of you? Yeah, how are you guys kind of excused from classes if that happens, if you have to travel during the school week, or is most of the traveling happening on weekends? And yeah, how do most professors like take to athletes at your school? Are they pretty understanding about like missing classes and things like that, or no?
Sure. So with I can't speak for other sports, but with cross country, we have about like 8 meets or 8 races in like a season. And so for each of the races, you notify like you basically see what date it falls on and which class you have to miss. And if it's a class that like doesn't take attendance or that like you can catch up on later, then you don't have to necessarily tell the professor that you're going to be away. But if it's a midterm, for example, I had my midterms clash with one of my races, and so with that, you have to make sure to email. There's going to be like an academic affairs office where they're going to arrange like you got to email that office and also your professor. So your professor will like take note of that and make sure to do this like weeks prior to the midterm or to the date. So yes, emailing the academic affairs office for when you're gonna miss classes and stuff, and emailing your professors. And for us, we a lot of the none of the meets we have or the races we have are on like during the weekdays. So we have them on like Friday or like the weekends. And so yeah, that's not very much of like a big problem during the weekday for me. It's just mostly Friday and the weekends.
For tennis, a lot of the tournaments are gonna be during the weekend. So you're gonna leave on Friday night and then Saturday, Sunday, and then Sunday, late night, you drive back to campus. And then the tough part is Monday morning when you have class. So don't have an 8 a.m. Monday morning if you're on the tennis team, because you will not enjoy it. um, yeah, that's basically how it goes for a bunch of for the invitational tournaments. But then during spring season, it's it's either you play on Saturday or Sunday, and you just play one match against another school. Those are called dual meets, dual matches.
For soccer, we have home and away matches. I'm sure most of you are aware of that. So, and the matches generally are on the weekends. Yeah, like either Fridays or Saturdays. That's how it's generally. And in my school, like a large population is our student athletes. So the professors and the teachers are really very kind and helpful towards us, and they have like they are in contact with the coaches like most of the time, so they know what's going on. And if you have a match or training at a time when it clashes with the classes, you have to just email them and they'll be like, all right, just watch the recorded version of the class or something like that. Because the teacher, the professors and the coaches in our school are in regular contact, and like they're very helpful. The professors are really helpful to the student athletes, at least from in my university.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So we're coming up to like slowly the end of the panel. We have about 10 minutes left. If students have any more questions, they can submit them. So I'm gonna maybe move into some more fun questions to end the panel. So for each of you, who is your current like favorite athlete or sports team that you really enjoy and you like watching when you have time? Because obviously all of you are very busy. But yeah.
Sure. So I would say my current favorite athlete is probably he's not famous, but his name is Kieran Tuntavate. And I kind of idolize him a little bit because he's Thai and he was our national team runner and he made it to the Olympics from being a college athlete in the NCAA system at Harvard. And so he broke the national record by like 2 minutes, which is like crazy good. He's really, really good. And he's such an inspiration because he just shows like what the system can do to you and what like working hard can do and like what the possibilities of a college athlete are. I mean, a lot of the college athletes go on to the Olympics and stuff, which is insane. And my favorite sports team right now would be definitely Manchester United because I like watching soccer. I mean, like my family supports them too. And actually there's a game going on right now. So yeah. I like watching Man United. Yeah.
Yeah, so my favorite athlete would probably be Roger Federer. He's the true gentleman of the sport. He's very classy, hits the ball really early. You'd think he's a defensive player, but he's really on the offensive side, just pushing the ball, coming to the net, closing it really good. Um, Favorite sports team? Well, I am a big Boston, innately coming from school in Boston. I am also a big Boston sports fan. So you have the Bruins, you have the Red Sox, you have the Celtics. But actually, my favorite basketball team is the Warriors. But yeah.
My favorite sports athlete is Lionel Messi, and come on, like he's the best player. He's the greatest of all time. So everybody loves him. And my favorite sports team until recently was Barcelona, but then it has had a really bad downfall. And even because of Messi, since Messi left, so I switched the team to PSG right now. So my favorite sports team is PSG because of Messi.
Cool, nice to hear it. Sorry, Swiss, that you can't watch the Man United match and you have to attend this panel right now. Hopefully you can catch it later. Okay, cool. The next question, which might be interesting as well for students here. What's your favorite maybe shot or play strategy that you like to use when you're competing?
I wouldn't say there's much strategy involved in like cross country or like track because it's really just about running. But it's actually very interesting about in track when there's a strategy called sit and kick, which basically says that everyone kind of goes out more conservatively, and then it's like towards the end of the race they pick up the pace and they like go out within like an all-out sprint at the end of the race. And so I really like watching that and also like executing it by myself, which is really fun because when you like go conservative and you follow behind someone in a race and you kind of just like conserve your energy and just like draft off them, but then towards the end you just kind of trust that you have the leg speed to beat them towards the end of the race. And so that's my favorite kind of like strategy in track.
Yeah, for tennis, my game used to be stay behind the baseline and grind it out. But now I've kind of shifted it to a more offensive style. So I have a really big serve, and then I like to run around and hit my forehand, open up the court, and try to come into the net and close the ball. Yeah, but my favorite shot would have to be my serve.
So one interesting thing, what I think about soccer is the formation in which the team plays in. So every team plays in a different formation. My team plays in a 3-4-3, which is not very common, but it's a good formation, and we've been really successful with that. So I think that's really interesting.
Okay, cool. And then, so we're coming kind of now to the last 5 minutes of our panel. So we end all of our Millie panel, sorry, on the same question. So if you could go back in time and give one piece of advice to your high school self, what would it be? It could be on like being a student athlete, or it could just be like, you know, about college or university, whatever you like.
I think this is a hard one, but I think for me, I would say something like, don't be too hard on yourself, I guess, in a way, because when I was recruiting, I didn't think I was like good enough or anything, or I didn't think that I was like that good to be recruited or whatever. But I think there was so much pressure to perform on myself to like hit the standards and stuff that a lot of times it just didn't run well. And I always thought to myself back, like if I just relaxed a little bit and just like stopped thinking about all these expectations and standards I have to meet and just kind of enjoy the moment, enjoy the racing, I guess I would have performed so much better. And I think that's like a big thing is that it's not a lot of times you don't have, when you have those expectations that you want to meet, you can fall short of them. So just really, I guess when you have a race or something like that, try to enjoy it a lot of times too. Just be in the moment and just embrace it and don't think too much before or after of what's going to happen and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could go back in time, one thing I would do differently was just put less pressure on myself and try to take a step back and think of things holistically in terms of like, you know, before I thought college was like the end all be all, but it's really not. It's really just the beginning. It's what you do after college and your time after that. It's really what matters, and this is just a stepping stone, really. Um, so yeah, I was super stressed about, where I would go to college. With my offers, like which college should I choose? But in the end, it's really what you make out of it. So I wouldn't really put too much pressure on yourself on this whole college recruiting thing, or even just going and attending college. Well, do well, but don't kill yourself.
Okay, so um, what I'd say to myself before coming here is that work on your fitness, like seriously work on your fitness, because the fitness levels here are really good, and I was actually injured for 3 months just before college started. So for me, it didn't work out well. I struggled with fitness and I was out for some weeks. So I just want to focus more on fitness and just get fitter and fit.
Okay, great. Perfect. So that's our last question for the panel. Thank you so much to all of the panelists for joining. As we've heard, you guys are very, very busy. So really appreciate you taking the time out to speak today and give some more advice to students on what it's like to be a college athlete as an international school student. And yeah, thanks so much to any students who joined the event or also who might be watching this on YouTube later on. And yeah, if you have any other questions that come to mind, you can feel free to DM us on Instagram or email us, and we'll try and get your questions to the panelists here so that they can maybe answer anything that you have more specifically about anything. And yeah, great. So thanks so much to all of the panelists for joining. Really appreciate it. And yeah, hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditya.